this whole FGN, let's call it the movement, we need the procurement people.
Yes.
We need even the user, the people who actually spend money. Then we need obviously the lawyers. So what is happening is that some of the ministries are already arranging big training for all of their people together.
I'm Geraldine Ukafo, an assistant director from the Ministry of Interior, the legal unit. A very interesting session we have had this few days. We are here studying more on the federal contract administrative system. We've had experiences of failed contracts as a result of those who are involved in drafting the contract not knowing the fundamentals, even though we are lawyers, that made some of those contracts failed, and so much money, so much losses to the federal government.
What I hear from this room is that it is a significant missed opportunity.
Yes.
If the legal folks here lose that chance to make their input at the critical stage.
And in fact, on this issue, BBP is working tirelessly now to see that a kind of symposium and enlightenment is being organized, for joint entities.
My name is Tunde Arulu. I'm an assistant legal advisor with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. Yes, legal unit there. I've really understand the fact that in drafting a contract agreement, there are specific things we need to actually consider and look for a way to address all those things one after the other in order not to make the federal government go into unnecessary liabilities.
In this whole FGN, let's call it the movement, we need the procurement people.
Yes.
We need even the user, the people who actually spend money. Then we need obviously the lawyers.
When you award the contract, most ministries, I mentioned it yesterday, that most ministries, they award the contract. After the award, that's the end. They don't go further to make sure that the job is well done.
I am Ozemelami Kechi Christian, Deputy Director serving in the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. This is the way to go to ensure that our contract management system is effectively taken care of and minimize losses.
To act like the scope, to go through the scope and the presentation and some other few things that will bring problem to your institution.
Okay, that's excellent.
But with what we have learned now, especially with this new system, we're going to have a uniform system of contract drafting, especially as it concerns federal government's huge contracts. I was very particular about the scope of contract because it is what defines what the contract is all about, so that every party knows their roles and responsibilities. Once that is captured in the agreement, everybody is good to go.
Well, I've really gotten well informed and I have the knowledge now about the whole thing. Yes.
Execution plan, and then the contractor has his own, and you work on that. Because if there's a contract, the terms have been spelled out. Any deviation from the terms means a breach. That's where I understand it. What we have learned here is that we should take it back to our various MDAs. We should look at the scope of the contracts and ensure that the scope is properly worded properly. Because when the scope is not properly worded, then it means that you have to manage the contract. Because when you get it wrong at the foundation, that means you have to ensure that you don't run into loss.
The federal government will send the contract to the contractor. Nigeria government doesn't have their own gas. The gas they were going to use was belonged to ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil was not part of the contract. ExxonMobil was not part of the arrangement. So that from day one, it was a flawed approach. It was a completely flawed approach. That's the kind of question lawyer would have asked.
First of all, there's the issue of getting the lawyers involved. at the beginning of negotiations. Before, we were not involved at the negotiation points. All you see is that we are giving contracts to draft, and then you ask few questions here and there. Sometimes you will get the proper answer, sometimes you will not get the proper answer. But now we know that there's going to be a teamwork. The team that writes the contracts, including the lawyers, the procurement officers, in some cases where engineers are required, where professional experts, where they are involved, we come together with each bringing its ideas to make sure that the lawyers are well grounded with the content of the contract. First of all, understanding what the contract is all about. By the time you understand it, you are now writing, you know the experts to consult, you know what terms and conditions to put into it. By the time we do that, I think we are better off.
The insurance payment will not amount to a variation, because the variation has to be signed by both sides as a variation of the contract. So what you are doing, you are reserving, you are protecting yourself to say it is not amount to variation until we get to the point where we would agree that it's a variation. But the date has changed, obviously.
I will put this experience gathered into practice, particularly to ensure that risks are being reduced to the minimum, or if possible, eradicate to the zero level. And at the same time, I will ensure that most of the federal government contracts are duly executed, and of course, we as lawyers of the federal government, we should always protect the interest of the government, particularly in this aspect of contracts when it comes to litigation, drafting, and whatever. So these are what I've gathered a lot of experience there, which going out there, I will actually make good use of it.
I actually have had a serious eye-opener. I was involved in a complex contract that had to be varied not less than twice. And my understanding is that the teamwork was poor. Yeah, the risk assessment wasn't done. And the number of loopholes, that's why I was concerned. I wanted to know about variation. But I'll read it up, that's fine. Thank you so much for exposing us to greater understanding of what we thought we already know. And we are hopeful that it will yield results for the government of the Federation as a whole. Well done.
Very good experience, very illuminating, and we've really learned much.
What I also observe from the observers, I think they too are concerned. They are patriotic Nigerians, because I see some of them coming up from abroad or leaving their private practices to come into teaching us on the fundamentals, exactly what we need in this country. I will say kudos to them, because I see that they are achieving the purpose of the e-FCAS program. They have done so well. Thanks to them.
Well, the experience has been very wonderful. I came here with, half-baked, but I'm getting fully baked now, because I've gathered a lot of experience. Every day there are new things, there are new innovations. We need to update ourselves. So new things might come up in future. So that's why I feel we should, I would advise that they should make it an ongoing process. So that's why. Thank you very much.